Welcome to People and Profit, your essential business briefing. I'm Kate Moody. Coming up, the world economy is in a dangerous place. Another dire warning about global growth as the trade wars drag on. We speak to the OECD's chief economist. Disappearing jobs, a look at precarity in the labor force and how working conditions might change. And we meet a Syrian entrepreneur who fled war to set up a now flourishing chocolate business in Canada and campaign for economic inclusion of migrants around the world. The effects of trade tensions are becoming deeper and more widespread. That's the warning from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development as it once again scaled back its outlook. The global economy is expected to expand just 3.2% this year, and the slowdown is directly linked to higher tariffs and less trade. The OECD said the dispute between the US and China could, at current levels, reduce global GDP by as much as 0.7%. That's the equivalent of about $600 billion. Both the American and Chinese economies are also predicted to weaken if their governments continue raising the stakes. Well, for more, we can speak to Laurence Boone, chief economist at the OECD. Thanks for being with us. Your latest report really highlights the damage being done by these trade tensions between the US and China. Has the risk gotten greater in recent weeks as they push ahead with more tariffs?
So our report focuses on what happened and what that means for the future, as you know, and our main message is the trade tensions have led us to revise our projection to a quite weak growth this year of 3.2% and 3.4% next year. It's not all trade tension, but it's a large contribution. Now, the latest measures which have been announced over the past few days are not in the main scenario of our projection, but we have modeled what would be the impact on the global economy if this tariffs increase were to persist in a permanent way. And that would mean about 0.2 to 0.3 percentage point less on global GDP growth in the US and China. And that's not even taking into account the pervasiveness of uncertainty that creates.
Another side effect of this trade war is weakening business investment around the world.
Absolutely. In 2017, investment was growing, private investment was growing at a rate above 5%. At the end of last year, it was down to 2%. And as we know, the investment we make today are the growth of today, but also of tomorrow. And it's quite striking how much the trade tension have derailed manufacturing sector growth and in turn investment. And we need to revert that quite urgently.
How do international organizations like the OECD and WTO figure into this new context? What role can and should they play?
So that's a super interesting question, and I think that it puts right under the spotlight the necessity of a multilateral dialogue to resolve the big problem of this world. When we look at two things. The first thing is on international taxation. As you know, the OECD is actually managing to work on a consensus for 129 countries to agree how companies are going to pay taxes internationally. So it can be done. Now, when we look at trade over the past 20 years, global trade has evolved. Digital, subsidies, state-owned enterprises, there are lots of things which have changed. So it's normal that we have another look at it, and we should. Actually, we're going to do it this week at the ministerial at the OECD all together, and it's only multilaterally that we'll be able to restore confidence for all.
Laurence Boone, thanks so much for joining us on People and Profit. Well, those predictions were released at the OECD's 20th summit at headquarters here in Paris. The future of work has been another hot topic as businesses and employees try to understand the impact of technology on their jobs.
To get a job, what skills will future generations need? Will there actually be good jobs for that matter? Ones that offer decent wages and agreeable working conditions, with the possibility of moving up? These are just some of the questions that the OECD focuses on in the ever-changing landscape of the world's workforce. Take, for example, the increasing presence of technology and automation. The Paris-based organization has found that in the future, 14% of jobs could be fully automated, and 32% of them will undergo major changes. They've also found more and more people have atypical jobs, ones without long-term fixed contracts. In G20 countries, 1 in 6 workers is actually self-employed. But in half of those countries, they don't receive unemployment if the work suddenly dries up, a precariousness that the organization wants to combat. Last month, they launched a campaign entitled "I Am the Future of Work," to give a voice to independent workers and employers, like this entrepreneur who launched a bike service that delivers hot lunches to workers. Through its campaign, the international group hopes to promote policies that allow workers, employers, and governments to better adapt to the world's shifting social and economic challenges.
Tareq Hadhad is the founder and CEO of Peace by Chocolate. For decades, his family ran a sweets empire in Syria. Driven out by war, they became refugees in Lebanon and ultimately made their way to Canada, where they rebuilt the business. I met Tareq at OECD headquarters, where he'd been speaking about how to help integrate migrants into the economies of their new homes.
When we arrived by then 2015, beginning of 2016, we didn't know anyone in the community. What we knew that Canadians were opening their arms, welcoming my family with embracement. They were welcoming them with kindness. They really offered them every single reason for us to succeed. And we really wanted to give it back. That's how it happens. If you are getting kindness, you will give kindness. If you are getting hate and violence, that would always, be taken as, not a welcoming factor into any community around the world. So really, my family just wanted to give an example to that country. What I have been talking about at the OECD is that I wanted the governments now, as we are heading into the European elections within a few days as well, I wanted really to take immigrations out of politics. Immigration should not be talked about in politics, because what we are doing is we are dehumanizing all of these human beings, that they were forced to leave their homelands, and no one was born to immigrate. No one of these people that they are coming to Europe or they are coming to Canada or the United States, no one really was born and his parents told him, your passion should be immigration. No one really was passionate about it until they were forced to, until they lost their hopes, until they lost their homes. And I really felt that governments, since I talked to them yesterday and the last few days, felt there is an intention for them to humanize immigration again and get the benefits that immigrants can get employed by themselves or can offer jobs to their host communities, but they did not certainly plan to come to take welfare or to rely on subsidies in any of the social governments. That's how really we kind of minimize the social and the conflict sensitivity between these immigrants and their host communities.
You've spoken a lot about the importance of entrepreneurship as a way to economic inclusion. What do you mean by that?
I'm a physician. I didn't really have background in business. So I believe, since I started digging down into this, that there are two types of businesses. There is selfish business, there is selfless business. Selfish business, when all of these big corporations, they care about the profit. They really don't care about the social side. They don't care about their host communities. I really wanted to tell another part of the story, which is the social business, which is the selfless business. When we start a business to care about the others than ourselves, then that business will succeed because it will get the support from the whole community. That's really what I found at this time, that entrepreneurship is about being remarkable, being unique, and it's also our own way to give back to our countries. Our company started with my family self-employed. Now Peace by Chocolate within 3 years hires more than 55 employees. And we are targeting to become one of the top 5 chocolate companies in Canada in 5 years.
And in fact, you've put out a goal of hiring 50 refugees in the coming years as well.
By 2022, Peace by Chocolate would have hired 50 refugees out of 500 employees at that time, because we also totally focus on hiring local Canadians. That's our message, that we are there in Canada to benefit Canadians at the first place, also give back and help lift other refugees with us, give them opportunities, mentorship, guidelines, everything they need to succeed. At the end of the day, let me just say that as human beings, we should always remember that those people, they fled their homes and they really wanted the hand to lift them and give them opportunity to succeed. No one of us really was born to hate. We learn how to hate and we learn how to be bigots. It's time to unlearn hate and unlearn bigotry. And we don't have time even to love. How do some people find time to hate? And that's really important for us as well to focus on, as when we deal with anything in life.
Now, your family was able to relaunch their family business, but as you said, your medical studies were not able to be transferred. How important a part of the equation is that, being able to transfer one's qualifications when setting up a new life?
Totally. Recognizing the credentials that these immigrants come with is very essential. I found my own way to actually play around the system and just get into entrepreneurship because I didn't want to waste 10 more years of my life getting my degree credit at that time. It will come. It's never too late to become a physician. But for other refugees or other immigrants that they are coming, let's talk about immigrants because refugees are only 5% of this whole equation of immigration. Immigrants generally, they come to a new country really to translate their skills and their experiences, and they are very motivated to do that. I truly believe that all governments around the world should be considering reassessing their systems when a time that they are welcoming newcomers, welcoming immigrants, so that more people can get involved as soon as they can, because again, they did not come there to take their the welfare, they did not come there to take the taxpayers' money. They came there to benefit their new communities, and they are very ready, they are very motivated. They are the highest percentage of entrepreneurs in any community would be for those people that they joined the system very recently. Do you know why? Because all of these immigrants, they come to a new community and they scan the whole gaps. They know the gap in any community. So that's really how they feel that they have their own way to give back to their host communities. And I feel totally that all of these engineers, pharmacists, dentists with high academics qualifications should be integrated in the communities way faster than it's happening right now, or we will lose them. We will lose their knowledge that they came to a new country. In Canada, there is healthcare crisis. And you know, there is totally now a gap that the government started realizing. We should fasten these processes so immigrants can get into the system more quickly.
Well, that's all for now, but you can find the best of our coverage on our Facebook page, France 24 Business, or you can tweet me at Kate A. Moody. Until next time, thanks for watching.